more than just making 2 movies. We're thinking about a movement that will last for generations, that will give a voice back to Australia in terms of the faith heartbeat in stories.
Particularly Southeast Queensland, that'd be really cool if we have local filmmakers, people who trust in Jesus, expressing their faith, impacting people on a spiritual level. I see our films as little drops in hopefully a big pond.
Welcome to Between Two Films.
That's great. 3 of you understood that reference.
Yeah.
I think my dad understood that. This is great. How did we come to do this and find this conversation happening? And I don't know, where does your journey start with this?
Okay, well, it started with you guys making a movie called Faith and Doubt. My DP and associate producer, Ben, telling me, have you heard of this guy called Josh Allan? He's met up with this guy called Wayne Quilliam. I think we'd filmed the proof of concept at that time. He was like, it would probably be worth watching how they're navigating and learning from them. And so it started at a distance, taking notes as I go. And then obviously we made contact, and messages, voice memos. And then finally thought, hey, it would be great to actually be in the same room. And how good would it be if we could record a conversation that's going to benefit more than just us? And kind of even just document the journey of being in the small beginnings phase of making films and streaming series that are Australian, uniquely Australian, but have a faith heartbeat to them that are going to serve an audience and serve families and serve a moral anchor in people's soul and not just be really good entertainment. So that's kind of where this night, this interview started for me.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I mainly just knew you as this random guy that liked and commented on every single post I did, which I'm very appreciative of. And it's really interesting too, because a phrase that Wayne and I were starting to use was, and we believed it at the time, was we are the first, let me get this right for Wayne who's not in the room with us, but we're the first independent, faith-based feature film in Southeast Queensland. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, this Elliot Bonser guy, I'm starting to see a campaign happening for Bella's Room, this other film, and I'm like, hold on a second, now there are 2, I don't know if I'll say the whole sequence of adjectives again, but 2 films.
It's worth saying.
Yeah.
It's worth saying.
I'll see if you remember it. No. But yeah, 2 films that are trying to tell really good stories in a way that doesn't just, like you said, entertain, but actually moves people. And so that's the thing that I think we've connected over is, shared faith, love for filmmaking. Let's merge both and hopefully reach people in a way that is interesting and spiritually, transformative, I guess. So,
and I think that feeds into, you've used the language of mission field in the film. Could you just kind of open up the mechanics of that for us? How do you see a film being a missionary or having a mission to it in the context of faith?
Yeah, well, I will say I don't want to replace missionaries in their specific role, but I think we're a missional project in that we want to reach people that don't know Jesus. Like, I'll just be transparent and say, like, that is a big part of it. We don't want to preach to people, but we do want to reach them through something that's focused on character and story. And so we're not specifically missionaries in that we're going to Papua New Guinea like people I know and teaching and doing that sort of thing, but we are doing a version of ministry outreach, missionary outreach is probably a better way of saying it, that's focused on story rather than preaching, but still reaching people in that way. So yeah, trying to merge the world of Christian, non-Christian, believer, non-believer through a story. So missional, but in a new, more artsy kind of way. So,
and authenticity plays a big part too, because sometimes people see faith-based film as having a very clear agenda. And like you said, mention the word preachy, or, what we like the word cheesy. And sometimes people just close off to that. But your film is very much diving into the human condition in a way that's going to relate to a vast array of people. And it's not just leaving people sitting in the problem, which typically, without some fictional tail end resolution that Netflix will give to a film, you're actually providing a very real testimonial solution to that dark place. And from what I understand, you've actually written a lot of your own life into the characters, which then just gives another deeper level of authenticity to the story. Could you just explore that a bit?
Yeah, I think the part of the idea behind the movie was trying to take things I know and can truthfully tell and put it to screen. I didn't realize at the time what that was going to be, but I slowly discovered, oh, okay, I think I'm going to put what some people call their faith testimony into a story. And I will say, our movie Faith and Doubt is a fictional movie, so it's not Josh's autobiography, but it has an element of, I'm telling a bit of my own story, I'm taking reflections from my own life, things I've observed in the church, either personally or more broadly, and trying to tell something that has a piece of myself and just feels truthful and not like authentic, like you were saying. So yeah, it's less of, let's just preach at people. And I actually see the film as a meditation and confession, and that's more how I see it.
Wow.
It's like, here are questions I've had about where do people I love go after they die? Or other questions I've had, am I too far gone? Have I messed up too much that God can't save me? And so you'll have to see the movie to see how that resolves. But I will say in my life, spoilers, my life has resolved positively. I haven't left my faith, even though I've had points where I've struggled and continue to struggle and questioned and continue to question, but God has still kept me anchored. And I think this whole Christian story thing is so compelling that I can't think of a better alternative I'd want to pick. So that's kind of a long way of saying, yeah, this movie means a lot to me, not just because I like making movies, which I do, but because there's a piece of me in it. And I think there's a piece of a lot of us in it. So yeah, fictional story, truthful texture to it. So
truthful texture. That's a great, I like that. That's got to be on repeat. That's good. When did you first pick up a camera?
Ooh, I leached off my dad a lot. He was the gear guy.
Leached off your dad.
No, I think that's where I learned. I kind of learned over time.
Borrowed from the cabinet.
That's right. Give me that. But I learned that I used my dad's gear and filmed stuff. But I think I was like, maybe I'm kind of a director because I like to pull other people's giftings and tell stories that way and not just make stuff all by myself. So
sure.
Yeah. Dad's video camera is where the first time I touched a camera is the short answer. So
can you remember the first movie you made?
My dad was an evil villain with a machine gun chasing my sister is the basic plot.
Perfect.
I've come a long way since then. I'm way more interested in characters and like themes and growth and stuff of more substance. But I think the first finished thing was, my dad with the gun chasing my sister because guns equal tension, I think is what I was thinking. But yeah, you start somewhere. Actually, I'll throw in something too. I noticed that you and your dad had a film making journey. So is that the first stuff that you were kind of making, or were you, what's been your journey movie-wise with you and your dad? Or
so my dad had an eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa. And while he could still see pretty good, he had about 50% sight when I was very young. He would borrow a VHS, I believe, camcorder to make the home movies just for memory's sake. And they were really fun memories because he would direct us. So, Elle, because my closest friends call me Elle and my dad calls me Elle. Elle, jump across the screen, like jump across the camera and do this tumble roll. And he would show me how to do it. And he had a disabled arm too. He's still alive. And, so, and he would do all these tumbles and things. And it was, it just became a very fun play space growing up. And then we started experimenting with things. And Dad would narrate as he's moving through the rocks on a bushwalk and would go to rainforest and would name the rainforest. And so those are all very foundational in terms of my relationship to a camera is actually through my dad. And so
the same
Yeah.
Shout out to our dads, I guess.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Huge shout out to dads. And so his eyesight worsened and my school life worsened and decided to drop out of school in year 7. We were making movies every day while I was homeschooling. And so, and they would range from just random little, movies where I was playing every single character wearing different clothes.
Been there.
and I wouldn't have a grid for editing. I would edit as I went. So set up the camera, press record with my little remote and play the bit, press stop, move the camera, change clothes, play the other character, record straight into character, press stop, move the camera back, change back. And so that when we played it back, it would play the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And so, and that was before I discovered Windows Movie Maker.
That was your...
Yeah.
Because my dad had Adobe stuff, so I went straight to like the crispy,
high-end,
like the
straight
good
away.
stuff.
Wow.
But yeah, I had that moment where I went, wait, you can like color footage to make it look like a movie? Like I did. Did you have that journey where you went from the rudimentary basics to actually, okay, there are techniques you can use to make a film that's not just kind of fun, but actually that next level up?
Yeah.
Whether that's like storytelling techniques of structuring a movie or like technically camera, lighting, editing. Like, did you have that journey too, where you kind of went through that?
Yeah, well, in Windows Movie Maker, if I wanted it to look cinematic, I either used B and Dub, sepia, or sci-fi filter.
So it's these like templated.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, just chuck it over the top.
Good at the time too.
It did. I didn't care about skin tones.
Oh no, I tinted everything blue because that was the trend in the 2010s or whatever. But you start somewhere. You think it looks awesome as well. We'll probably look back on stuff we do now and go, yeah, no, like the things that changed, but it's still cool having that transition where you're starting to see what making a movie could be. So
oh yeah, and my dad, for someone who was blind, he was so trusting. Like, he would let me put him close to a cliff, and then when it came to the bit where he had to fall off, we would dress up the dummy as him and chuck the dummy off for that shot. So I had a really big version of those, and I'd just dress them up in clothes and throw them off. Yeah, maybe put some sandbags to make him more body. So when it landed, it hit.
We started very violent with our movies, didn't we?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think our films currently, our feature-length films, are going to be that kind of... Well, I've heard you use the word gritty, but I think gritty and violent are two different things. But this is like totally not a smooth segue, but I've heard you say gritty. What do you think is interesting about films that have a little bit of that, I guess, real-life texture or grit versus stuff that feels kind of clean or kind of like a message is being preached? Like, do you have thoughts on what is gritty filmmaking? I've just heard you use that a bit, and what's the value of it, would you say?
Well, gritty is a texture word, right? And so when I think of gritty, I think of the way the frame dances on people's eyes in terms of what are they experiencing when they're looking at that. And I feel it's more humane. It has more humanity to it. It has more reality to it. So it just says more, there's more realism here. We're not going to be polished in the sense of, like, it'll be production polished, but the look and the feel should feel as real and human as possible. And there shouldn't be a canyon of relativity for the audience. There should be, like, they come in, the characters come in close and they're like, whoa, I see myself in that person, in their wrestle, in their struggle right now. And I think Australians love gritty films. I don't think Australians really go for the Hallmark vibe in terms of the feel, the look, and the characters. I think, and if we're going faith-based, I think there's been a lot of Hallmark kind of style faith films. And it's just not how I envision a film. I envision fight sequences. I envision contention and
moments where people are actually, and even showing people of faith not being perfect and not being this like ultra polished hero too. I don't know if your film does this as well, but mine kind of, Faith and Doubt, is sort of in a way deconstructing that trying to be your own hero, trying to battle on your own solo samurai kind of archetype. I think when you battle on your own, it doesn't really end very well. So I think the real heroism is surrendering to God and then accepting community. I don't know. Your film, I guess, has a family element. Like, does your story, would you say, have a similar thread. I mean, not the exact same. Like mine's specifically about church context. Yours seems to be about the foster system and family
Fractured
and stuff.
family.
Fractured family. Okay.
Yeah, fractured family and the impact of those choices. So, backstory, Bella is born to a teenage couple. And so teenage pregnancy, the dad is not ready to be a dad.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes his will to leave, and the mum is not anywhere equipped to raise a child. So the automatic response, which was pretty common in the 80s and 90s, and the shame of birth out of wedlock and things like that, is given up to foster care. And so we're in an era where foster care is not necessarily a high class experience for the child. And so we're following her through this process of being a very young child, but having to grow up very quickly in her mind and become very resilient or more resistant to opening herself up and trusting. And so that's a big backstory. But the family she gets temporarily placed with, whilst they're a Christian family, they're grieving the death of their own daughter from a car accident 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
And so he is on a process of forgiving himself, forgiving God. So that's his arc.
Yeah.
And his arc in that sense begins to be the testimony to Bella that the only way to be free is to forgive. Because she has every justification, she has every reason to be angry and unforgiving towards the world and those who abused her.
Yeah.
And so that's where their arcs kind of connect and where their rawness comes into contact and brings mutual healing. Through those two elements coming into contact. So
I think it's cool. Like, I think kind of like an image is often beautiful because there's the contrast. I heard a pastor use this analogy where you kind of think, why does suffering exist? And one of the poetic ways he used to describe why do we have peaks and why do we have valleys is in the grand story of reality, the darkness amplifies the light. And so some people won't find that like the best explanation of suffering and evil. That's less about that, but it just made me think of what you were saying with the characters. So if the characters have a dark place, if we show either their flaws or some people might call it trauma or baggage or wounds or whatever, actually showing that with a level of honesty then means that if you want to explore the hopeful element, it feels a little more justified and there's more contrast there as well. Yeah. So if everything is just, I don't know if you felt this with some faith stuff where it's like Christians are all good, or like the second you become a Christian, it's fine. The second you walk into a church, it's all good, or whatever. Like Christians and everyone has a level of baggage. Everyone has that rawness, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And so, but then forgiveness is that key that unlocks it. Hey, so
yeah.
But I think by showing films with raw characters, you actually show God's forgiveness. So I think that's just a really cool, different way of doing it. I think it's cool. The raw, gritty, and I think like being able to kind of not, what's the word? I think secular films sometimes tend to glorify the darkness too much. I think maybe you've felt that.
Sure.
But maybe we can show it with truth, but have a hope.
You mentioned that word glorifying and justifying.
Yeah.
I think in the kingdom, darkness is justified, but in the world, darkness is glorified because they haven't found the light that contrasts or overcomes it.
Yeah.
And so having darkness featured in a film is actually important because it actually justifies our need for a savior, our need for a healer, our need for a redeemer. And it sets the stage for the cross. It sets the stage for the Holy Spirit. It sets the stage for the Father to come and adopt those who are broken and hurting and feeling abandoned and are stuck all alone. And so if we don't paint the picture through darkness, we're not really creating a place for those who live in it to experience the adoptive heart of the Father. And so if we can do that through film, and I think people have done that through film beautifully. Like I know Kendrick brothers, I've had some life-changing encounters with God through their films. And their films, they say outwardly, these films we make, they are for the body of Christ. Yeah. So that they can understand their role in the world, which is so important. Whereas the Irwin brothers make movies for a universal audience that leads people to the hope of God.
Yeah, exactly.
In a
And
very
there's these
beautiful,
different
subtle way.
niches, and
Yeah.
that's actually really cool. Like, maybe our version of it, I think we've both used the phrase Christian New Wave is maybe what we'll call our own stuff, where it's the same heart of wanting to reach people at a spiritual level, but realizing that not every method has to be the Kendrick brothers who are focused on reaching primarily Christians,
Yep.
or the Owen brothers that are trying to make stuff that's quite inspirational and broad to reach a broad audience. Actually, this would be interesting. I'd love to hear you answer this. What gap do you think could be filled through truthful, raw films? Yeah, what kind of gap do you think could be filled? There's lots of other Christian films out there. Why do like our two, and potentially a movement of other kinds of films like these? What do you think that might do different?
I feel like I'm doing an extended Jordan Peterson moment. I'm pausing before an answer.
It's good.
It's going to be nowhere near as profound, I'm telling you. But where I see it kind of really locking in our era is, and I'll kind of repeat something an actor said to me the other day that we got to be in the same room with, and who did a chemistry read with us a couple of weeks back. And he I don't think, like, he wasn't coming to the party as someone who's like, yeah, Christian films. He was coming to the party because he was drawn spiritually by the element of painting a picture of a religious family in a positive light.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his angle that made him go, I'm interested in this project. And that caught me off guard, because it kind of made me realize people everywhere, no matter their walk, no matter whether they've got a strong faith or any faith at all, are very hungry for entertainment that's going to be for families. There's going to be family values that's going to ring true with traditional values that have stood throughout millennia, to bear really good fruit for families and for men and women and marriages and child raising and things like that. So I think that's where I think the big gap is right now, because families are hurting. And if we make movies for families that are hurting, but we don't leave them in their hurt, but we let the gospel breathe through the characters rather than necessarily explicitly speak, but we portray it really intelligently, not because we have an agenda but because we've got our own personal testimony of I was at my lowest point. Exactly. We've written our own brokenness into these stories and these characters, our own mistakes. I've written my own processes and grief into some of the characters in Bella's room, simply because there's no better way to write than to write yourself into the story, because it'll be truthful.
And to actually, like, you've gone through an experience in your life, and then you go through another experience writing, and then you go through an experience making the movie, and then you can pass that experience that hopefully feels truthfully packaged in a movie, 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever. You can then hand that over to someone else and go, a lot of this may have imagination and cinematic tools and stuff, but there's a little bit of me in there, and here you go. And so you can, it's weird, it's like you're wanting to actually selflessly give to people, but sometimes the best way to do that is to keep a little bit of you there. And so you go, I get a version of what you're experiencing, audience member out there, because here's the story, And I think I love what you said, something about showing, people are hurting and giving them a space to see that in a film, but not leaving them there. And so you can be hurting and yet have hope. I think that's the Christian flavor, I think. Not that films that aren't explicitly Christian don't have hopeful themes and stuff, but I think, to me, the word hope sticks out as to why I find following Jesus compelling, and why I think faith storytelling is interesting, because it's actually, I think Christianity is so honest about who we are, and yet so, in the darkness. There's so much darkness in the Bible, and it points to that, but it then also points to the light of that forgiveness you were talking about, ultimately found in Christ. We've experienced that. But yeah, that was just to kind of echo what you were saying as far as
Sure. Yeah.
what people are going through. And I really do hope that both these films, people, and I've said this before, but I'll reiterate it, people, inside the church and outside of it can see themselves in a character, go through an emotional journey like the characters go through, and come out the other side connecting with them, but maybe feeling moved or changed or something. But it's weird. It's kind of counterintuitive, because you'd think we're Christians, right? We want to go out and preach. We want to go out and preach and tell people, and there's a place for that. But funnily enough, it sounds like that's not what we're doing with our films.
No.
We still, and we have to be transparent, we want people to share the faith we do, but
simply because we got compassion
and you care
for them to find the resolve that hope in Jesus gives you.
Yeah.
No matter the wrestle you're going through, like you said, it doesn't fix you overnight.
Yeah.
But what it does do is set your feet on a really solid foundation, so that, because I don't know about you, as a man, as a dad, as a husband, my family deserves me to be on my knees in prayer. And I think if I wasn't on my knees in prayer, they wouldn't get the best of me.
Yeah.
And I want families to be inspired to take back that ground of a spiritual determination that we're in a spiritual fight. As much as we see nations against nations, there's a spiritual war going on. And the moment peace comes in is usually because someone's on their knees in prayer, saying, Jesus, come on in and have your way and bring restoration, bring light, bring hope, restore peace and joy. And continue.
Oh, I was
interrupted your flow.
No, I was going to add on to that and say, it seems counterintuitive as well in the spiritual journey, but you have to, well, not have to, but what's the word? You think of a fight, right? And you think of, I've got to fight my battle. And I've been through that too, where I've gone, I've got to fight this, I've got to fight that, just got to push through. And again, it's kind of echoed in the characters. They're fighting a battle, but the problem is they're fighting it on their own. And the Christian story is one of, hold on a second, the way you win the battle is not by just fighting harder, because you end up burning out. You end up isolated, you end up just in a not great place. But if you can just not palm off the fight to God and a whatever, but pass it to him, place it in his hands.
Yeah. And
the offer's there for that, for my characters in the film. We'll see if they do or don't. I won't spoil that, but you win the fight by knowing that you can't win it in a weird way. There's all these kind of, it's a very weird thing, this whole Christian faith is. But I think, there's a piece of that that's in my movie, but I don't know if you resonate with that either personally or film-wise. But getting on your knees in prayer doesn't seem very heroic, but it can be the most heroic thing you can do. Is to be like, there's a hero bigger than me. There's someone greater than me, and so I need to actually let someone. Exactly. You win the fight by yielding. Surrendering to it. So it's very interesting, and that's something I've learnt in my spiritual journey, and there's bits of it in the movie too. Should we talk a little bit about our movies as well? We've talked about themes and stuff. For those who don't know, this is kind of like the PR moment or the press kit moment or whatever. But for those who don't know, whether they're my audience or whoever, what would you say in a nutshell Bella's Room is? What's it about? That sort of thing.
Bella's Room follows 10-year-old Bella, who's been through 8 foster homes by the age of 10 and is rescued from an unsafe foster care home and is temporarily placed with a grieving Christian family, which turns out to be a spiritual turnaround place for her. And she starts to heal and feel like she belongs until her dark past returns to reclaim her. And so that's the arc, is that as we could relate, Bella personifies the human condition of feeling like an orphan. And even though so many of us have grown up with parents who love us, because of sin, because of our own choices, we end up sometimes feeling and thinking like we're orphans. And so Bella personifies that in the human condition. And so I've written even some of myself and my own psychology into her, even though there's been research with foster parents and those situations have been researched to inform some accuracy for her in the script. But yeah, it's very much a personal journey, and it's gone through many layers as I've rewritten, gone back to the drawing board several times.
Yep.
Draft 10.
Well, you're 10.
Yeah.
I'm only like 6, but it depends on how we draft stuff. Oh no, am I 6? I can't remember if I'm 5 or 6. 10 drafts, that's impressive.
It's not
Your film will
entire.
be extra good.
It's not 10 feature film script drafts.
Right,
It's like it was first drafted as a short film.
Yeah.
And then realized, I think that's too tight. We need space for the whole thing to breathe.
Yeah.
And then got halfway through, 3/4 way through, scrunched it up, throw in the bin. But I don't write on a typewriter. It sounds like I do. No, that's crap. Let's throw that out.
Yeah.
But no, it's just like, no, scrap, start again. And through layers of making it less romanticized, giving more research body to it, make it more accurate. Then we need more entertainment value. And now I'm like, we need some VFX in there to really, build out the audience novelty for distribution, and making sure we've got some of those foundation set so that it can have the reach that it should.
Yeah.
So much journey goes into those pages, and it's good because it makes you value your words more and make every word count.
Yeah.
As you know, as someone who writes and loves writing, you want to make every word count.
Yeah, even though my characters all say the words and there's deliberate commas but that's still intentional.
The word deliberate.
It's
all
intentional. Intentional and leave a little room for, I don't know, real life or whatever. But yeah, I think intentionality is good. So and sometimes you find that though as well. Like I found, like people might go, "What's like your script writing process?" I haven't got one yet. I'm still figuring it out. I don't know if you've had that, but it's definitely like the rewriting. You kind of find, at least like I kind of find what I'm trying to say or figure out as I'm going, sort of thing. So I don't know if you've had that, but you go on a bit of a journey. And as you learn stuff, you could bring it to the character, or you get feedback, so yeah, there's been lots of iterating. My film started with 3 characters actually. Okay. So now it's 2. I could talk about those 2 characters and what the movie is, but yeah, it was 3 initially. Yeah. And I found that there was just not enough time for all of them, so I kind of smushed 2 of them into one. But yeah, it's interesting how it goes along.
Can you talk to that?
I killed a character.
Just kidding. How did you smush 2 characters into one?
Yeah, well, elements of them. So originally, Faith and Doubt followed 3 young people wrestling with struggles in various different ways. But I found, so the 3 characters initially was a pastor's son who wanted to have an impact. He's still there. He's intact. His name's David. And a young woman who was dealing with mental health. Her name is now Alyssa, for the context of this film. And then there was another guy, Thomas, who had doubts about the faith and came from a non-Christian background. And I found that my Alyssa character, young woman, she didn't have enough going on, I think. So I went, okay, can you combine someone's spiritual questions and doubts and someone's mental disposition, or whatever you want to call it, and struggle, and kind of bring them together? Yeah. And so I went, that's kind of an organic way to do it. You've got someone who's already predisposed to feelings of anxiousness and depression and isolation, that sort of thing, but also going through these massive existential questions tied to a specific person who you care about. So that was a bit of a journey. So I killed one character and I've added others. And anyway, there's a whole process behind it. But yeah, so originally it was 3 characters. And so now it's 2 young people wrestling with hidden struggles and with personal doubts. Their faith gets put to the test, but there is an open door of hope. There is an open door of healing. And the question is, are they going to reach out and take it, or are they going to stay isolated? So I won't spoil how that goes, but yeah, that's the premise in short. And so, yeah, focusing on young people in a Christian context is kind of the world of the story, in the same way that yours is fractured families and the foster system. So more explicitly in a church and Christian context. But yeah, I know a lot of people like me and like these characters. And so I think demographically as well, depicting young people hopefully will bring in young believers and young non-believers, and they can see themselves in the character. So that's kind of my answer to the previous question of what's like the premise, what's that core thing you're going to put on your IMDb or
Yes.
whatever, like what's your story.
Yes.
That's I guess the gist of it. So I guess that's out there for people to.
Why is this movie so important right now?
The film is relevant for today because I think a lot of people are going through mental and spiritual instability and lack of well-being in that area and feel isolated in it. And I think a lot of people are dealing with addictive tendencies, particularly pornography, and they feel alone or they feel stuck. Both people in and outside of church. So yeah, I think that's why it's relevant and that's why I care about it. And I have to remind myself that it's not just a movie. Like, people could genuinely be moved by this and there could be real change, particularly in those areas for people, and there could be healing, there could be a sense of encouraging community, there could be a spiritual element to it. So yeah, a lot of thoughts, but I think that's why it matters to me and why it's relevant now. Who are you trying to reach and why do you think that's important right now?
So Bella's Room is set in 1997. At that time, whilst foster care isn't the central theme of the film, it is the context in which we see Bella living and getting through life. But back then, there was roughly 14,000 displaced children in Australia. We're in an era right now where we've hit another crisis in foster care where there's over 48,000 children displaced in Australia. And so foster care is hitting a crisis right now. So there's a relevant aspect to that there. But I also think the relevance entertainment-wise is a lot of audiences are wanting the nostalgic touch of let's go back to the 90s. Let's go back to the 80s.
Yeah.
As the early 2000s, it was go back to the 80s, Back to the Future. And, so there is a nostalgic edge for the entertainment value. But then there's the realistic nature of every family going through grief. As healthy as your family might be, and the Carpenters, the family that Bella ends up with temporarily, that she starts to heal within that context, they are a healthy, loving family. They love one another, but they're tackling grief. And so we're seeing a family that is what you would call, they're an ideal family in the world's eyes, but we get to see that even though they're quite healthy, they're going through it and wrestling with shame, wrestling with unprocessed grief, becoming anger, but we're also seeing them handle it in a healthy way in being quick to apologize. And that's something Bella's never seen.
Yeah.
And I think that's points to the issue of humility in our day and age. We're seeing a lot of people being offended is cool, where it's treated as like, oh, I'm offended and there's this righteousness attached to it, when we know, no, it's just you're declaring how powerless you are. If you're easily offended, you are powerless. But if you are quick to forgive and you're able to be humble enough to take responsibility for your mistakes, that's true leadership. And so we're actually looking for role models in that. Like, the culture is actually so starving for people that will fail publicly, not in massive ways and destructive ways, but they'll be quick to apologize and say, whoa, I blew it. Guys, would you forgive me? I'm imperfect. I'm trying to get this right. And that's what we see play out. And that's a big healing part for Bella as well. So there's a few things. It's family, it's nostalgia, it's the foster crisis, and it's the personification of every human's journey from being an orphan to being a beloved son or daughter of God.
Yeah.
And that's Bella's journey. So that's why it's really important today.
It's quite a few threads. I'm looking forward to seeing it too, actually. That'll be cool to see because ours is very present day issues, present day vibe. But it'll be cool to have something a little bit different and a little bit more retro. So I'm just looking forward to that visually. I think that's going to be cool.
I'm excited to see it come to pass because, the retro side is going to be fun. And it sets the stage for a spin-off series, present day, when Bella's grown up.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yes. So that's
if you want to see a spin-off series.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
You've got to get the film first, though, if you want the spin-off. Yeah.
So I think that goes into a really exciting topic, which is we're making two individual movies.
Yeah.
But I don't think we just see it as I'm making Faith and Doubt, Elliot's making Bella's Room, and we just leave it there.
That's totally what we're doing,
People
bro.
are just
We're
like,
going to
we
keep
just
them
want-
separate.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, don't touch. You
Yeah,
do your thing, and I'll do my thing.
and it's our vision. It's
Never the two shall meet.
yeah. No mixing fabrics.
No, this is totally. No, exactly. It's not just those two, but yeah, continue what you're saying. What's the bigger vision?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I love how I framed it as a question to you and you pass it back. But I think
I'm
we'll
passing the
answer
ball.
both. I'll take the ball and bounce it. No, I think the bigger picture is I would love, and I think you would love, and that's why we've connected, is not just our movies, but the movement that we see, is I would love for our films to be a little drop in the pond in a massive movement, or at least other filmmakers to come in, particularly Southeast Queensland. That'd be really cool if we have local filmmakers, but Australian filmmakers, people who trust in Jesus, expressing their faith in a non-cringe, character-focused way. Like, if we could see more of that, I don't even know what that looks like, but like, I can't even fully visualize it. But I think if there was a movement of passionate, creative Christians that didn't compromise on their love of excellent art and didn't compromise on their love for Jesus, we're seeing that a lot in the US.
Yes.
But what if there was that down under? What if there was that in Southeast Queensland? So the fact that there are two of us sitting here, I think, is exciting and promising.
Absolutely.
And so I see the people that have backed our films practically, prayerfully, financially. I don't see it just as they're backing Bella's Room, they're backing Faith and Doubt, but they're backing a broader movement of local faith-based art, faith-based film. And so I think the spiritual benefit of that could be massive. I think it supports the local filmmaking industry.
Yeah.
I think it then creates opportunities for local filmmakers and actors and people to connect in with these stories. And we can even, by merging the world of secular film industry and people who attend church like us, if we smush them together, we're having faith conversations with actors, we're being challenged, great art's being made.
Exactly. Great.
And the gospel can get shared in an organic way. So there's so many, and I haven't even fully mapped it out. I can't map it out. That's a God thing. But yeah, I think it's so exciting, this possibility of what if there was local stuff that was a little bit more raw, yet hopeful. And so I'm excited about it, even though I don't fully know what it could be.
Yeah.
But I see our films as little drops in hopefully a big pond. So
100%. And I think there's a lot of evidence that there's been a huge response from people within the film industry, specifically actors, who firsthand I've heard them say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited that there's some faith projects being done, because that's what I want to lend my talent to, because it feels more aligning with my values. Not that, it doesn't mean they're stopping the other stuff. It just means they can begin to nurture that part of themselves artistically.
Yeah.
And that's exciting as well. Because, we're not in it to compete with the industry. We need the industry. They are the people that first inspired us to be filmmakers.
Exactly.
Like, as a 15-year-old, my goal was to be on Home and Away. That was my 100% goal. And I've loved the entertainment industry since I was a child. And I'm just so stoked that I get to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And also see that Jesus is right there with them, making amazing art, and we get to be a part of it.
Yeah. And we see Jesus actually literally, we see Jesus and we see his followers and we see the church in so many occasions not relegating the spiritual realm to the conventionally spiritual people.
Yeah.
There's a place for that. He did preach in synagogues, I believe, but then he would also dine with the people that society cast out, the ones that they thought were too darkened, too unclean.
Yeah.
And yet he stepped into that. And we see the early church doing that. We see the early church being willing to be persecuted for their faith, willing to step out into a culture that they might not always agree with, but they have empathy for. And I won't speak too much into scriptural stuff. I'm not a pastor, but I do see God's people and God himself stepping into a problem rather than out of it. Again, 100%. I don't want to over-identify with God himself, but I think I can at least identify with God's church going, let's jump into it.
Yeah.
Let's not jump out, let's jump in. Are we excited? Are we ready? How can people jump into this journey with us off the back of what we've shared, on the back of this broader vision, Do you have any thoughts, Elliot, as far as how would you encourage people to actually make this happen? What are those steps? You feeling excited? You're feeling ready?
Yeah, look,
What's your call to people?
I think we both got fire in our bones about this stuff, because it's clear that the media is the biggest influence on our kids. It's the biggest influence on our generation. And just when the TV was first invented, they went to a certain group of people to fill the channels because they knew they could, and it was the church. And unfortunately, at that stage, the church was very fearful of anything new. And they said, no, we won't have a bar of it. It's of the devil. But they totally rejected the opportunity to occupy a place of really sincere and powerful influence. And so I suppose if people are watching this conversation, they're hearing two filmmakers talking about more than just making two movies. We're thinking about a movement that will last for generations, that will give a voice back to Australia in terms of the faith heartbeat in stories, that will contribute and add value to the beautiful entertainment industry we have here in Australia. Then put your money to supporting them. And we'll put links in this video. If you want to support this, that is the best way to do it right now. Obviously, we need intercessors and prayer warriors that are going to be committed to getting behind seeing these films made, but more than these films made, seeing this movement gain momentum. Obviously, there's the growing community of cast and crew, more producers at the table, more credited producers that can bring their own network and bring their own connection to investors and studios and grants and funding. Like, all of that's going to be really important, because there are people out there that have been waiting for these kinds of movies to be on the table.
Yeah.
And so we're saying they're on the table. Okay,
now's the time. Like, if you're hungry for it, hey.
And to be honest, I'm not willing to let this battle slide to my kids. I'm not willing for them to have to fight giants that I was called to fight in my generation. And when I say giants, I'm not talking about people. I'm not talking about an industry. I'm talking about the giant of intimidation around, hey, how do we express our faith in story in a way that's human, that's going to relate, and is going to bring hope to people and audiences. Yeah. And so, jump in and support if you want to make your mark that's on something that's going to last for generations.
Yeah, I would. Where's the camera? I think my camera's here. Like, I'll just speak to the camera too. Like, if you're watching this and you feel called and you feel ready to back a project like either of ours or both of ours, we would absolutely love it if you had the capacity to support us in a financial way. But if you're someone who can't, like, even prayer is massive. I know we're looking for extras. I don't know if you guys have anything practical you could use support in, but we are super passionate about this. But if you're passionate about it, you're the one who can actually make this happen. We've talked a lot about these projects already. So many of you have already gotten behind both of these films or each of these films individually. But now is the time, if you feel ready to help create a movement like this, to help kickstart a films that have an impact on people spiritually. I want to encourage you. I know this is like breaking the fourth wall, but genuinely, Elliot and I and our respective teams, we just want to call and encourage you. If you have the means in any of those kind of areas, we'd encourage you to do that. I'm running out of things to say, but I just want to say, it's not just about us and our movies. It's about the people that we can reach. And so we can play our part, but ultimately we need people like you, people that you may know, to actually get behind this. Because if we see people like you and people that you know getting behind this, it makes our job a little bit easier and makes this movement, this snowballing of actually impacting people on a spiritual level through faith-based storytelling happen. So long ramble, passionate little speech there, but we really we've been doing a lot of this stuff. We've been writing for a long time, and so we're just fired up and ready to go. And so we're keen. We feel ready, I think, as ready as we can be. As ready as we can be. Like, it's all about stewarding something God gives you, right? If you've got an assignment from God, your job is just to manage it well. And we're doing that with not just ourselves. We've got an amazing executive friends and people who are partnering with us that are delegating a lot as well. And so this is not just two guys. There's a lot of people in the picture here, and it's incredible to see that team growing as well. And you can be part of it too. No.
Yeah.
I'll jump off my soapbox. I promise our films are a lot less preachy than what I'm doing right now. But do you have any final words after my little moment there? Do you have any final thoughts, any final encouragements?
I have a dream. We have a dream. God has a dream, and it's all about the arts bringing heaven to earth in through story and through imperfect humans. So, yeah, we'd love to have you a part of the journey.
I'll finish on that. I think that's great. Brilliant.
Well, I hope you enjoyed between two films.
That's great. Awesome. That's probably a good place to cut. Hey. All right.
Let's go.
Thanks, guys.